Hello, my name is Lynn Clay. Used to be Lynn Adams. Who do you want me to start with?
Heather McKay.
Heather McKay. Mm. To this day, I have never thought that there's been a better woman athlete than Heather McKay. I don't care how amazing they are, and obviously there's lots of really, really incredible athletes. But this woman in her 40s was just this rock of a body. Nothing moved. I remember we were all after a tournament, after a night of playing or something. There's a group of us sitting in the hot tub, just kind of trying to get the kinks out. And Heather walks by to the shower, and it's like not, we all jiggle. Women jiggle. Heather did not jiggle. It was just like she was such a stud. What she could do at her age, like I was in my mid-20s, and thought I was all that, and she was doing that and more. She was incredible. She was incredible.
How about Shannon Wright?
No, Shannon Wright. So Shannon and I had a very interesting relationship where it will not come as a surprise to her that not a lot of the other players enjoyed her. She was a bulldog. She would do whatever it took to win. There was one time she was playing Vicky Panzeri, and Vicky had beaten her the first game and was in control of the second game. And so Shannon changed her strategy and started putting her body in between Vicky's shots and the front wall. And should have been many, many calls of avoidable hinders, but the referee did not call avoidable hinders. And so Vicky would have this very clean setup that would win her the point, and then all of a sudden Shannon's leg would come out of nowhere and take the rip. So Vicky just fell apart because then she was spending more time arguing with the referee than focusing on the game, and she just fell apart, and Shannon ended up winning the match. Shannon comes into the locker room. We count the ball marks on her body. There's like 24 ball marks on her body, and she is so proud that she took Vicky out and won the match. And we're like, no, you cheated. And she goes, no, the ref didn't call anything. And we're like, it doesn't matter what the ref did or didn't do. You cheated. And she's like, no, that's not what happened. And we're all like, oh my gosh. So Shannon and I actually became friends. It was a very interesting relationship because I would speak truth to her. And it turns out that there were a lot of things that Shannon did that Shannon didn't actually understand or realize that she did. She's a brilliant woman, like scary brilliant. And so she didn't always have a handle on social norms. And I don't think any of us really realized that. And it wasn't until having, very, very good conversations with her, it's like, oh, Shannon's not a bad person at all. Shannon doesn't see the world the same way that other people see the world. And we ended up having just a wonderful friendship. We've actually talked a little bit here and there through the years. And oh my gosh, I loved playing her once I understood her. I remember Jim saying to me, she's a bully. Just stand up to the bully and you'll be fine. And as soon as I figured out how to do that, then a lot of things changed. She was a bulldog, and she had, she was so competitive, and I was so competitive. So on the court we're doing this, and then once we figured each other out, we were able to just have a wonderful friendship off the court.
Caryn McKinney.
Caryn McKinney. I love Caryn McKinney. So Caryn was really interesting in that she didn't look like she should have been a really amazing athlete. She looked like maybe the librarian in your high school or something like that. And just tenacious and so smart. I mean, that is really, I think, one of the reasons why she excelled. Yes, she was very athletic, but she had such an analytical mind as to how to do everything, and she had plans. She was a really good planner and very creative. She and Terri Gilreath were probably my two closest friends on the tour. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. And obviously we had a lot of time on the court where we played each other. Always made me very angry when I lost to her. I didn't like losing to anybody, but I'll tell you an interesting story about Caryn McKinney. We were in Alaska. I don't know why I'm telling you the story now that I started it. We were in Alaska, and I went to take a backhand, and when I came around, and I hit her in the mouth, in the teeth. We were playing in the semifinals. Yeah, it was the semis, and she had to stop playing. Like, I hit her hard, and we had to go to a dentist, and he had to actually readjust her whole jaw because that's how hard I had hit her. And I can't remember if this part is actually true or not, but this is how I remember it, where he's getting ready to do whatever he has to do, and I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can stay in here. And she grabbed my hand, and she's like, you will stay in here. Like, if I'm going to suffer, you're going to suffer. So I had to hold her hand while he's, pulling her jaw out and fixing her teeth. And she was so proud. She took such good care of her teeth. And oh, it was horrible. Our friendship survived that. So that is the grace of Caryn McKinney. So I could go on and on and on about Terri Gilreath. Terri Gilreath and I were doubles partners. We are undefeated doubles partners. We used to train together. Bonnie Stoll, Terri Gilreath, and I, sometimes Diana Nyad would join in on the fun. We did a lot of training together, and we would just all push each other and try to be better than the other one. So we'd have some pretty epic training sessions. And I was always very jealous of Terri because she could get veins. Like, she would get cuts from lifting weights in her arms and have veins pop out. I don't care how much weight I lifted or how hard I worked. My arms always looked like this. They were always just these little these little sticks, and never had a vein pop out. Don't have cuts in my arms. I wanted that so bad. Terri Gilreath had the best arms and legs ever. She so athletic. But Terri and I, we did a lot of life together. So outside of racquetball, we hung out and, went through relationships of, supporting each other through, she helped me through my divorce, watching her go through her relationships. Yeah. And one of the fastest people ever. So when we played doubles, it would always be like, I knew where the ball was going, but if I couldn't get there, all I had to do was say yours, and she would go flying from one corner up to the other corner, which should have been mine, but I knew I couldn't get it. And she would get it, and the rally would go on. She was spectacular. Oh, and Terri, if you see this, I want to actually say this out loud. We played in a tournament. I might cry during this one. We played in a tournament in Seattle. I had never lost to Terri ever in my whole career. And I can't remember, I'm pretty sure it was the semis, and I was playing Terri in the semis. And it was a very, very close match. And we were in the tiebreaker. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but I was pretty sure that her shot had skipped. She knew her shot hadn't skipped, did the whole thing with the referees. They agreed with her, disagreed with me, and I accused her of cheating in order to win the match. And I totally ripped the joy out of her winning and going into the finals for the first time in her career and beating the number one player for the first time. And like I held on to that and maintained that she had cheated for quite a while. And so it took work on my pride and my ego to let that go, that I had been beaten, not cheated out of a win, but I did it to my closest friend. And I was very fortunate that, I know I've used this word with several people, the grace of Caryn McKinney, the grace of Terri Gilreath. When you are the best at something, you have a very large ego, and it's not always healthy. And God has healed me of a lot of stuff, and that's one of them. But that my friends were able to separate the unhealthy part of my competitiveness and stay focused on Lynn and not Lynn, the racquetball player. That was a huge gift that my friends gave me in my life, because sometimes I certainly didn't deserve that, and they gave it to me anyway. So Terri, I hope you get to see this, and that, I'm just so sorry that I took that joy away from you, because you deserved it, and you earned it, and I just love you, and I miss you deeply. Rhonda and I did not really compete. She was after me. How I knew Rhonda was she would be in my clinics. She was coming up. She was a little kid, she was young. She was very young, but so determined. And I loved the relationship that she had with her dad, because I had a really close relationship with my dad. And my dad would come to tournaments. He'd get on a plane and watch me someplace, and that was really cool. And she and her dad, very, very similar. And so, yeah, she was somebody that I was drawn to. I have not always loved women a lot. Growing up as a jock, most of my friends were guys. And it wasn't until I was in my later 20s that I really started to appreciate how women thought. And so I didn't have a lot of really close friends that were women growing up. And then as I got older and was very appreciative of how women think and how women's brains work, discovered that I hope this doesn't sound weird or anything, but young women like to hang out with me. I still, to this day, I run a group of young women, gals in their 20s and early 30s. And it's almost like one of those symbiotic things where I have things that I have learned just from living a lot longer that I can pass on. And they look at life so differently and so fresh, with such a fresh perspective, and with so much energy. And so it's this really neat back and forth thing. And so Rhonda was one of those young racquetball players that I was very drawn to, just because of her love and her enthusiasm for the game. And she always had a million questions, and I love to talk and process. And she would have talked endlessly about strategies and form, and what do you think about this about life? And so I know Rhonda more in that sense than actually competing with her on the court. But I do tell her that, if we had played in the same era, I would have kicked her butt. So, it's probably best for her that. Hi, Rhonda.